QR code, I assume this is gonna work correctly, they use the same QR code that's on there.
Yes.
Right? If you have any questions, you want to just take a picture of that, we can get to the questions at the end, there'll be, something will be monitored, turn your questions, and we'll cover it at the end. Go ahead. Have we got that? Yeah, everybody's got, there'll be other slides too, so. Alright, topics. Review of 24-25 events. And we're gonna talk about why to sanction USAV, we're gonna go through some points of emphasis, some things that come up, some things that change, and then a little bit at the end, a little discussion about governance of our single-day tournament density. So start this out. 24-25, awesome year for the region as far as tournaments. We had a different tryout date, if you remember last year, we had summer tryout dates, and what do we do with our tournament opening day? We used to open up almost at Thanksgiving. We decided to do our single day opening, kind of middle October, or a little bit after the first weekend of October. We stayed the same with that, seemed like it worked out okay. Always open for discussion, if we think we need to do that earlier, or keep it the way it is, we can go back later. Trying to be in the right spot for those single days. You know, multi-day events open up a lot earlier because those national teams, you have a pretty good idea what you're gonna have and where they're gonna go. Single days, sometimes those teams take a little bit longer to put together. You're not sure if you're gonna have one in the 4 teams or 2, and you're still kind of putting it together in the fall. So we kind of thought, let's just keep that one in October. That's when you have your best chance of knowing what teams you need to get to what events. And I didn't really hear anybody complaints about it, so we just kept it pretty much the same. It opens up on, I believe it's the 13th, 5 p.m., which means you have to set your turns for 6 p.m. because it's easier time zone. Last year we had 29 different clubs or organizations host over 200 single-day region-sanctioned events. And we had very few issues. I would get 1-2 emails every couple weeks about something. Could be a format, could have been how much they charge, could have been parking, little things here and there. Nothing that I thought was out of the ordinary. You can't run anything perfect when you're running 200 single-day events. Rep didn't show in the morning here, those kind of things would come up once in a while. But nothing that I said, oh my gosh, we're in trouble, this is terrible. I did send out a couple emails, some reminders on some stuff. We'll talk about some of those in the points of emphasis, but overall, a great year. Officials, the single day events bring in a lot of new officials, and last year, Sarah was able to fill almost all of our single day events at one in filling, and we also trained 62 new officials at a lot of those events, so that was awesome. As far as the Badger region, we host some big events. We had, our Power League was back up to 220 teams, we did that at 12 division for 4 dates. Our Badger region qualifier and Dale Roadie, which used to be smaller events at single facilities, had grown into multiple facilities, so we decided to put those both at the Baird Center. So they took a couple halls at the Baird Center and stood alone last year, 2 separate weekends. We'll continue to do that, both ran real well. The Badger region champs, we went to the expanded Baird Center, 55 courts, went 2 weekends, we filled them almost all the way up on one weekend and almost all the way up on the second weekend. We hosted 836 teams. And when I put that number in there for the slideshow, I was like, oh my gosh, we have 836 teams in our state. I remember, I've been around this region for a long time, and that's a big number to me compared to where we were back when I got started. So. All right, one of the things I want to talk about today was the pros and cons of sanctioning your event as USAV to the region. One of the reasons we want to come up here, we do have some events in the central part of the state, northwestern part of the state, not running events, and even in the southeastern part of the events, not running stuff through the region, and just want to kind of discuss that a little bit. Number one pro is we pay for AES for your AES registration fees. So if you use AES for your single day events, you put in there that you're in the Badger region and you're running at USAV, you don't have to worry about paying the registration fee cost for any of those things. That's paid to the region through a partnership we have with AES. We also give you a regulated opening day and acceptance policy. You hear complaints from other places that don't do it about, oh my gosh, I have to open my tournaments in July because if I don't open them in July, somebody else is gonna open them, they'll take all the teams, whatever. At least we're all on the same page. We can discuss about what date is the best date for opening it, but nobody has an advantage of when their single day events open. If you go through USA Volleyball, they're all opening up on October 13th. Unless it's a 2025 winter event, like November or December, you can open those up October 1st. One of the big ones that we hear issues a lot is we do know that you're gonna have safe sport and background screen for all your site directors, your coaches and officials. So that's just huge as far as in today's society. You want to make sure that you have people safe in your gym, people that are trained, and it takes care of a lot of issues or problems that could possibly come up. Not all of them, but some. You know that you'll get certified, trained, and mentored officials assigned by the region. Region staff will get tournament help with scheduling officials on courts, call-ins, and event day questions. Yes, for sure.
Wait, I have a question, Sarah. Yes, the form, thank you, Brenda, where are you?
Where's Brenda?
Oh, there,
Brenda.
Sarah, the question came in, hold on, let me get there. Do our coaches have to be ref certified to ref our tournaments? Most of our refs are WIA officials. If yes, is there training available in central Wisconsin?
Excellent question. Love that.
I don't know if we meant to be calling you out though.
Excellent
Like,
question.
I think there is the anonymous team.
Wait, just kidding. That wasn't Brenda. This is good for the group actually. I take it upon myself with a couple of the refs to travel in different parts of the state to get them their on-court certification. Prior to that, if they are coaches, obviously they have USA memberships, background screen, state sport. That's the biggest hurdle. Once we get through that, I can assign all of the modules for them to watch, which are gonna be even more simple this year, because I believe on-court is the better training. And then I would schedule on-court training with whoever your contact is. It would be either me, or there's a select other few. I love road trips, especially central or in this area, because my son goes to Twin Cities, so I can just go up and over. So I'm happy to spread it out throughout the state. Once they're certified, then their recertification for following years is that much easier because the on-court is done. So I'm happy to help you with that.
Follow-up question?
Yeah.
How much does it cost? Well, what do you charge to do that?
Nothing, it's part of
Nothing. It's part of your job, so you can come up here.
It's part of my job. That's why I'm trying to encourage people
Yeah.
to officiate, coaches, players that are 16 and older.
Okay.
Players 16 and older. I keep emphasizing that because let's say you have a 14 and under tournament. The first thing I ask if I'm looking for refs is, hey, do you have any 16 through 18s that are interested in becoming officials? And players and coaches are your best refs.
Yep.
Because they know the game, they've either played the game before or they coach it, obviously. And it's giving back to your own tournament with your own players and your own coaches, so it ends up working out really well.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, and then when they become certified, if they have a free weekend or, there's no free weekends, but if they do, then they can go then officiate.
others.
To others, yeah.
Sure.
As well.
Cause
With-
I'm looking to host this year, so that would be a big hurdle for me
Absolutely.
also.
And that's perfect, because then what happens is some of the people, I use an assigning system for a lot of professional refs, but I also have a side system for those athletes and coaches who are inclusive to a certain area. And then I start a Google form, it's a whole big thing, but then I kind of place kids or coaches with that event in their area and then communicate in a group. So it ends up working out much better than our assigning system for those cases.
Alright, awesome, good sidebar.
Sorry to hide it.
No, that was fantastic.
So anonymous person,
Yeah.
Sarah did a great job of getting the tournaments assigned.
Well, thanks.
Next thing is a pop pro is approved formats, minimum match counts, and efficient play schedules, etc. And this was all decided well before I became the tournament director here, and we haven't really changed it much. Single day events, minimum of four matches in the day, 1 hour scheduled for each round. You can't play a 5-team pool on one court. There's lots of things in the tournament handbook that defines what you can and can't do to make sure that people get a good product. That was pretty much decided by the club directors in meetings while I was still on the board. It wasn't the tournament director about what they wanted in tournaments, what they wanted for single day events. And it's something that really I think is a pro. If you know you're going into a USA event, you know you're gonna get 4 matches, you're gonna get 4 full matches, and it's not 2 sets. You know you're gonna play 25 points, you know you're gonna be scheduled for an hour. There's people that wanna push against that, but really it makes it for a really great thing for our club directors to know that if they enter a USAB Badger Region event, that they're gonna get a quality product, so. And then the process of regulation, so if I do get an email, let's say I probably got, 20 emails last year about format stuff. Probably 7 Most of you know me that I also work for Junior Volleyball Club and run tournaments. It's not even a question on single day events that I wanna run those all USA Volleyball. Sarah does a great job giving me officials, formats work, I can run half day formats if I need to run some things different for certain facilities around the formats in them. I just gotta communicate to all the teams that it's a half day format, not a full day format. But I have lots of, I know I'm gonna have everybody in the gym is gonna be insured and taken care of that way, so there's just lots of pros to it. Cons, and maybe there's more, we can discuss this at the end. So one I see is a lot of people that run stuff don't wanna be regulated by things. They don't wanna have limits, they don't wanna have governance, they don't want people, emailing them back and saying you can or can't do something. They wanna do it the way they think is best, which is their ability to do that. But just realize if you're entering events that aren't USAV, bad region events, that you're not sure if you get 4 matches, you're not sure what the format will be, you don't know if you're gonna play best of 3, until you show up. You're not gonna be held to any standards as far as their gym sizes or gym ceiling heights and those kind of things. The other biggest con that I see, and I've talked to Jen about this for years and years, you can't allow teams, coaches, officials, players with a valid USAV membership to participate. So if you do have clubs that are JVA only or AAU only, they can't play in USAV events. And that's the biggest con there is to not being able to run stuff in the bad region. I think that's some of the issues we have with tournaments in Wisconsin not being run USAV is we can't let teams in from Iowa or the few teams from Wisconsin that don't have USAV memberships into our events if they don't have those memberships. Any questions come up on any of this stuff?
Yeah. Alright.
Mine should have came in. I
Kelly
had one.
and Sarah, how do we get sanctioned as a bad region USAV event?
We're gonna cover that in a
That's a
little bit.
great question, whoever asked.
Yes.
We're gonna cover that in future slides.
And then, there will be one that follows up to that, so.
Alright, carry on, keep going. What was the one before that? That was it.
That was it.
Alright, see, event hosting process is what you guys were just talking about. Post your events on AES, there is no date of regulation to post, so you can put your sites, your events up on AES as early as you want, as late as you want, there's no regulation to that, that's just informational. If you're new to hosting, you've never hosted through AES before, let me backtrack, if you've never been a club before, you're gonna contact Scott. He is gonna let you know how to get a hold of AES and get yourself registered in AES. If you've been a club before, but you've never hosted events, you have to go log into your AES and then ask a question there, either on one of their help pages or one of their comment sections, and just say, we would like to host a tournament, can you give me more information? I can do the same thing, you send me an email, I will do the same thing, is contact them, and they'll get in touch with you. I don't have the ability to give you AES access to create a tournament on their website. That's all a software issue with them. On the back end, I don't have that access. I can help you get that access, or you can do it yourself just by asking a question on the website, and they usually get back to you within 24 hours to get that done. In addition to standard dates, divisions, registration costs, and such, you must include your term info. Okay, so this is when you create your event, and you put your date in, you put the divisions you want, you put your cost in, those things all come up, but then we leave some information out, and one of the things I want you to make sure is, you also need to include in your tournament info, is there gonna be a cost for admission? Is there gonna be parking? Will R1s be provided? Is there any special rules? Like, if you're hosting 12s, will they be using the bad region step-in rule? And also, it's really good to put in there your refund policy. So when people do register for your event, and they get into your tournament, they get accepted, and then potentially later on, they decide that they can't make their event, they know in advance what their refund policy is. They'll get full refunds, partial refunds, whatever the case might be. Going back down to, once you got your event created on AES, you got all the information in, you fill out the Badger Region Tournament Hosting form. Sarah and I will be sending this out probably this week. We've got it created, we just gotta take some stuff off from last year and pay a sanction fee. For 8 courts or less, it's $25 a day. For 8 courts or more, it's $50 a day. And in the last 10 years, that price has gone down by 50%. I think that's the only thing in the world that's probably gone down in the last 10 years by 50%, but our fees dropped in half for those. We just collect the fee just to make sure that people are actually legitimate, want to do it, don't get, forms that aren't gonna be actually used. It's very simple, you're just gonna put your names and contact information, where you're on the tournament, the
comes to Kelly and I, for refs, this is where I ask and request that we have a lot of open communication. We know when you initially fill out your hosting form, you may not know. You're kind of estimating, maybe it's 4 courts, maybe it's 8 courts. If you need more refs, if you have less courts and you need less refs, let's keep that line of communication and emails open. Because what happens is when I get your hosting form, I build it in our assigning system and then I add the estimated amount of courts that you guys requested in that initial hosting. I know that things change, teams drops, teams add. So let's, what I do is I reach out to you initially and then if you add another site, you can send me an email, things like that. And then you get your final officials, their contact information, and then the grid. If you need help with the scheduling and the staggering of refs, I can also do that with you. You get that all the week before the event or the Monday before that weekend, with everything you need to forward to your refs.
Awesome. Did that answer the question about how to get an AS and get your set up? Any other questions?
So there's 2 related questions
Alright.
that are now coming in, is, as a club director, how do I know that I'm signing up for a USAV versus JVA versus non-sanctioned event?
Okay. When you, go on AES and you hit add events as your club, it gives you a bunch of search things that you can search by. You can search by should be less than or equal to 2 times the number of matches played. So if you're having a 10-round event on the day and only getting 4 matches, that's not a very efficient play schedule. If you're running 8 rounds, getting 4 matches, if you have a 9th or 10th round, those teams getting 5 matches, that works out. That's kind of just the basic thing you want to look for. Shouldn't be sitting more than half the time to have a good club volleyball tournament. Can play with that a little bit, maybe 1 hour off here or there, but that's what you're trying to shoot for. It's kind of looking to make sure your 8, 9 round tournaments are getting 4 or 5 matches. And like I said, this isn't anything new. This is stuff that was put in years and years ago of what clubs wanted in their events. There really hasn't been much discussion on it. As far as approval for non-standard formats, I approve non-standard formats all the time, but there's 2 things I look for. Can we communicate with the teams well in advance of the event? So if you wanna run something, I can tell you to put it as a half-day format, I can tell you to communicate to the teams that register, offer them a full refund if they don't wanna be in the event because of your non-standard formats, those kind of things. And then the format is reasonable and has logic. You might have a facility that has to close by 3 o'clock in the day, so you gotta run a different format. You might have, you can't get in until 11 a.m., so you wanna let them know a little later. I am willing to work with all of you to get the format that works for your facility. We just wanna make sure we're not, surprising people that they don't know what they're getting into when they register and pay for the event. Make sense to everybody? Okay. Rule changes. Yeah, Sarah, our rule changes.
Hi, sorry, your pizza's coming. Okay, sorry, that was.
We're not getting subs.
Okay, so, yes, hi, 15 subs, yay. It gives everyone the opportunity to get more play. And if you don't like 15 subs, don't use them, right? Go back to whatever you need, 12. The new score sheets will be available as PDFs on our website once we get them. We will, put that in a club director meeting that the PDFs are available. Also, we are blessed to have our score chair, Erin Stock, here, Erin. So everyone say hello, Erin. Hello, Erin. So Erin, is also available. Her email is on the website. If you have any questions about, any changes that pertain to the score sheet, she'd be happy to try speaking for you. Talk about it. Talk about it. No, just talk about like, forget it. No, if you need anything, Erin's here for you. Get it? There you go. Good job. Thanks.
Another reason to run more events, 15 subs will make it maybe a touch longer.
A touch.
Liberos, 0, 1, or 2 liberos designate each set. Logically, that makes sense. We haven't had that rule for a while, but they're using in other tournaments. Double contacts, what's allowed and what's not allowed?
Yeah, so, double contacts, people are very torn on this rule. I hear some happiness about it, I hear some people saying it's taking away the skill of the game. That doesn't mean, just because we've, changed the rule, that, double contacts will be called on second contact on the same side with anticipating a teammate would touch the ball a 3rd time, of course, or a non-scorable ball. Still doesn't mean you don't train your players still the proper way. You know, it's pretty simple like that. I think it takes out a little bit of judgment, for both the coaches and the officials, as well as allow a little bit more, development with the kids and allow them to make some more mistakes without being nervous they're gonna be called on doubles. Do you wanna add to any of that, Sharky, who's on the rules commission?
I think the best thing about it is it's putting us at the same line as the high school and the college game.
100%.
So, you know,
Keeping it a little bit more
you
consistent.
can argue why, you know, all 3 of us should be doing it differently, but we will have to be all consistent. And you know as well as I do that we've had so many things that are different in club and different in college and different high school that frustrates the heck out of us, so at least we're all been on the same page.
Consistent.
Don't post in your tournaments that there are no doubles, there still are doubles. You can't you can't take 2 different contacts at the ball or 2 separate attempts at the ball, that's still illegal, and you also can't double contact the ball going forward.
Scorable ball. So if a set is set on second contact and it goes over and it is a double contact going over, then that can be called. Did you have a question?
Yes, so will Badger supply, or should we make our own signs that the refs hang up saying, they can do that? Cause you know, you're gonna have the parents.
Interestingly, I was gonna say, funny you should say that, my mom, for those
Oh, it's gonna be
It's gonna be
awful.
awful.
Because we know, as coaches, we know parents are getting worse, they're not getting better.
They are.
And they are coming up to officials after the fact
Oh, I
and
heard a lot
complain, and
from
it's
that.
like, come on, people.
Yeah.
So, so I kinda being a smartass, sorry,
Yes.
that's my middle name.
But the bonus of this rule too is because when it was changed in NCAA in college,
Yeah.
a lot of parents assumed that it was going to be changed then in club this past year. So I actually heard a lot of parents saying, why are you calling, or why are you calling that? Why are you calling that? So I think this may be more in line with the thinking of, oh wait, college is doing it now, club is doing it, okay. Yay, right? But if it is an ugly contact over the net to the opposite side, then the officials should be calling that fault.
Screen.
Let's talk about screening. All right, doesn't matter how tall you are. If you're standing on the net and your hands are over your head before the serve goes over the net, the officials can call that. Normally what officials will do, or what we're recommending, is that they call the captains over and give them a warning, saying, hey, we see this, be careful, just in case. Oh, I got cash. Sorry. You'll find the money.
Story time, Sarah has to use cash because she's, spent so much money crazy.
My company card's locked, it's not my fault.
And that's not a lie either.
I spent a lot. It was our big all-star event, I put all those bells on it, so I'm locked. So it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter if their hands are over the top of the net. Their hands have to be below their head, until the serve goes over the net. And like I said, we are instructing or recommending that officials don't hone in on that, if we notice it happening, we will give a warning, because this is a newer rule, and a lot of people are still learning. And then if it does continue, or it seems more deliberate, then obviously they can call in screen.
Above your head.
Yeah, above.
Okay, so this is not a screen of the net,
Well,
you're standing
no,
over
no,
this, just
this,
this.
any hands above your head.
So the screen rule is all been there, the definition of the hands was the new part.
Yes.
It's the hands above the head.
Now, the original screening rule still is there, where you have to have, correct. However, they did add the hands over that.
That's what I see the biggest issue is where guys are doing guys with those hands above the head. So very easy now for the official to just say hands above the head, I can call screen if I want to.
Easier to catch.
Or at least work on that without the question back, like, oh, there's space between that.
Trajectory, yeah.
Just a question then on that too, are, the officials then still calling screening of the serve? Do they call that?
Screen on the serve.
That's when you.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
No,
about.
but you can have someone stand in back row right in front of the server, like this, do they call
And
that?
that's the normal screening rule that we talk
Cause a
about.
lot of them don't, a lot of them haven't, they don't understand that, when I ask them about it, they're like, there's no screen. And I'm
So
like,
it's still gotta meet the three criteria. Is,
Yeah.
are they blocking the view, are they,
Moving with the
moving, and
trajectory of
is
the
the trajectory of the serve right above that?
So that is still all,
That is all, that has not
We just added the hands.
okay, alright.
Alright, good follow right into shirt, go ahead.
So this is good, this is not good, like that's, I don't know where that's not.
That's
Good, not good.
under the head, over
This
the
is
head. Under the head.
Yes.
That's over the head. Stop it. Behind the head.
No, boys do.
Yeah.
Train your boys to put
Up
it at the
here
back
is
of the net.
not. If you notice, a lot of boys are starting already to do this, as opposed to just keep them under. Yeah, put your hands down.
Right, right.
Alright. We got this because Sharpie done the rules of the game commission, you wanna talk
Yeah,
about it?
so, I just started my third year on rules of the game, so as you guys know, at this meeting last year, talked about the various rules that were voted on by our national committee. I think they were pretty much very well received. We did a lot of these test rules in the region as well, so, continue to come, this is not when we meet in February, usually, right before the busy qualifier season, it's not a rule change, year, like we will not be voting on any rule changes unless it's an emergency rule change, that would be considered. So feel free if you have any, not necessarily feedback on this, but other rules that you would like to see the committee address. I'm happy to bring that up, in February, but again, it would not change until, not even get voted on until February of 2027, to go into effect in 27, 28.
Any other questions? Alright, additional points of emphasis. These are things that come up pretty consistently, and I send some emails usually in December or January to remind them on some things. Rosters, it's a foundational piece in running an event through USA Volleyball that you have to have the correct rosters in. Every year I go to a few days of tournaments and audit tournaments. When I do, I usually find some rosters that are not correct. They can use either a Sports Engine roster or a USAV roster. So they're using they can use a Sports Engine roster or an AES roster. If you're using an AES roster, it must be for the event. If it's for the event, AES has to have a USA Volleyball roster on it that's approved. If they get in a roster for the JVA Jamboree, and you accept it in the USA Group Tournament, that doesn't mean any of those people have memberships or backgrounds or anything, so it has to be event specific for AES rosters. The Sports Engine roster, which you work through with Scott membership, that has a USAV ball symbol in the upper right hand corner for it to be legal. There's lots of other places your coaches can print off rosters that will not come out legal because they won't have USAV numbers, they won't say anything about safe sports, certification on there. So it's gotta be the one that's got the USA logo with the ball and the upper right hand corner. Legal courts, as you start to think where you're gonna play, to have a tournament, it must be a legal court or be waived as correct for me. Per the USAV rulebook, you need to have 2 meters of free zone on all sides of the court. So that means between your benches and the sidelines, you have to have 2 meters. You have to have 2 meters to serve. If you're running side-by-side courts, you don't have to have 2 meters on each court, but you have to have 2 meters from sideline to sideline. As long as there's nothing else in between that, that works as well. You're supposed to have 7 meters free playing space above the court, so it means no obstructions, 23 feet or below. Which most gyms have. Once in a while I get into a gym that's got some more ones. The third one comes up at least once a year when somebody's heat doesn't go on. You cannot play a tournament if it's not at least 10 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've actually had a temperature thing that I've shot in gyms before because I get complaints about how cold it is, and I come in and say, oh, it's 50 degrees playing here, it's legal. Not comfortable, not what I want to have, but it's legal. So it's gotta be 50 degrees or above. Legal nets, horizontal bands, covered metal fasteners, all those things that you're supposed to have. The covered metal fastener is one that's usually not, unless you get a good official in there that tells you, hey, you need tape to put on this, cover those metal fasteners. Make sure you have a horizontal band. The horizontal band is within the rules. Make sure you have it right. Legally padded ref stands, everything must be padded on the poles and the ref stands up to 5 foot 6 inches or 1.7 meters. We do have some issues with that. And make sure they're on legal ref stands. We're not using any jump boxes for running tournaments. And then legally USA stamped balls. Once in a while we'll run into a ball that somebody's using that's not stamped. A lot of it's U12 stuff sometimes you come into that situation. They're using a volley light that's not, doesn't have USA stamp. Make sure it has USA stamp on your balls. There is an updated USA alcohol policy. Do we have that link?
Yeah, so there's a new alcohol policy from USA Volleyball, it was updated in May of this year. And we'll make sure that it's sent out to everybody, but basically it says that the sale or consumption of alcoholic beverages is strictly prohibited in any space leased for the purpose of conducting USA Volleyball sanctioned junior events. So we've run into a lot, which actually shockingly in Wisconsin, not as many as you would think. But around the country, there have been a lot of issues. And so basically no alcohol is permitted anywhere, competition courts, warm-up areas, athlete pathways or staging areas, public areas such as lobbies, exhibitor booths, merchandise zones, and results areas. So if there is alcohol on site, like we all know that there's some places where there's a bar and then the courts are elsewhere. Alcohol service must be roped off clearly signed as restricted and inaccessible to juniors. Alcohol must not be removed from these areas, juniors must not pass through or near the alcohol service zone. And so, those things, and obviously, again, we'll send this out. It's just like we ran into an issue last year where parents were standing courtside with a can of beer. And maybe in Wisconsin, our kids are probably maybe used to that a little bit more than other areas around the state or around the country. However, we still need to take the lead and make it, just more, safer, things like that. Plus, we all know that when parents, it exacerbates situations, right? And we know that they likely have it in their car tailgating, it is what it is, right? But for the purposes of these events, just the signage, the roping off, the not being accessible, the not having the juniors in the bar area at the event, things like that. USA Volleyball is cracking down on that, and they would like us to crack down on it, just because there have been some very bad, instances. And so then we are then supposed to get from the facility, copies of the liquor license and their liability insurance, if there is going to be alcohol at the venue and served during a junior volleyball event. We're supposed to get copies of that, and then that must be submitted to USA Volleyball, listing USA Volleyball as an additional insured, along with the event organizer and the event director. And I would almost add the region to that as well. So all of this will come out, but I just wanted all of you to be aware, especially those running events, in venues that have alcohol available, that these policies have been updated, because it hasn't been for a while.
So that's something you wanna let your facilities know, what the situation is going on. It's still very, very workable for the facility, they just have to do better things as far as keeping it in a certain area, not getting it courtside. We're still not gonna check your coaches', standings and Yetis and stuff, we're not gonna do that.
Coffee cups are the worst. These are the best. Yeah, love these guys' coffee cups. But, I mean,
We're just trying to get it out of the visual, situation of the kids, is what we're trying to do a better job of, which I think is good for the game. We're not stopping people from going out to their car and having a very key point, but we just don't want it courtside when they're playing, especially when that person starts arguing with the official with beer in their hand. Yeah, it's a bit bad, bad view. Other thing I wanna talk about real quick was handling and reporting and behavior problems. We don't have this come up very often, but when we do, there's just a couple things I want you to think about. A lot of people run multiple events and they have multiple facilities, and they say, well, who's gonna run that facility? Oh, we can just have Susie, she can do it. Make sure when you think about who's gonna be your site directors, that they can handle stuff when it goes wrong. 95% of the time, running a tournament's pretty darn simple, okay? Got a little step-by-step stuff they have to do, they have to get the court set up, they gotta get things going. But when something happens where maybe a 911 call has to be made, or their parent needs to be dealt with, or there's a coach-referee confrontation, that's when your site directors need to be people that can handle being in charge. So make sure you think about that before you start thinking who could be assigned. You talked about getting your coaches, officially trained. I would strongly encourage all of your, site directors to go through the officials training so that they have a good understanding of the rule book and things, so if things come up, they can work as a, person that can get into those situations with an official, know the game, and take care of those situations very good. Now, if something goes red card or bigger, things like that, then we wanna know about those things and make sure that we're on top of them, understand that things are gonna be, so if we, a yellow card warning comes up, no big deal, you don't report that. But if there's red cards or some other situation that comes up that's between a parent and a facility or something like that, or maybe a 911 call can be made, something like that is always good, just quick throw an email out to the club, out to the region and say, hey, this happened this weekend, involve this club and this club. We may act strongly, we may just kinda say, okay, well, I'm just gonna make sure the club director knows or something like that. But if we start seeing the same things happening from a certain club or same things happen multiple times, that's where Jen and I get involved and say, this behavior needs to stop. So, that helps all of our tournament directors. If we have club X that goes to this tournament has a problem, goes to this tournament has a problem, goes to this tournament has a problem, we wanna make sure we have a good control of that and make sure it stops. So if that next tournament, it doesn't happen anymore, that coach isn't there anymore. So let us know if things come up in your tournaments. We're not trying to judge anybody's tournaments. Everybody has tournaments that have things go wrong once in a while. I've gotten called a few names in tournaments once in a while.
I can believe it.
Sorry.
there's some questionable behavior of any sort, or if you have a question about them, just please, if you don't email us, we won't know. So a lot of the officials that are assigned to your events are assigned to multiple events all over. So if there is a situation or something that you're just kind of concerned about, or even a positive, hey, I love positive emails about refs. We love giving them shout outs in our ref bulletin. So if you have a ref that just killed it, or just a ref crew that killed it, please, don't hesitate to email us and let us know about that.
And I think sorry, I didn't know. One of the things we're gonna be reminding the club directors about in the next hour is, hey, see something, say something. So we've dealt with various things at Badger Region Championships, at Badger Region Qualifier in the Dale, where an incident happens, but we don't get an email about it till 2 days later. How are we supposed to do our due diligence in due process to find out what would have happened, what could have been resolved on site? So we're gonna be reminding those club directors and coaches who come in the next hour, say something immediately to the site director, the tournament director, the lead, whoever is on site. So as Kelly said, make sure that that person is able to be proactive and do something right away. Because I think that is the hardest part about our job is trying to do follow-ups when everybody scatters after a tournament. So just think
Well,
about
and
that.
especially when it's like, well, on court 6, the blue team parents were acting bad. Like, okay? If you told the site director, like, the site director can go monitor it, right? So, again, it's just a point of emphasis for us to try to handle it right away, so that we can make sure that the blue team, doesn't continue to wreak havoc on all these events.
Alright. Paying of R1s, no change in our pay scale for this year, we did go up last year a little bit. We do pay much more for our multi-day large events that we run, that we host individually to get the officials that we need to cover all those. But for our single day events, Sarah has been able to fill almost every need that she's needed to do. And that's a lot of younger and new officials that aren't complaining about the money yet. So we decided to keep the pay scale the same, it could be going up further eventually.
But we also have a lot of refs that like to stay local. They prefer to work, just a game tournaments, or they prefer to work, tournaments in their area. They will ask for those, request those, tournaments that are within a 20-minute driving distance, whatever it is. They're more concerned about reffing and providing a good experience for the teams than the $1 or $2 more that they could make an hour at an event they have to travel to. So we're really blessed to have a great group of new and existing refs in our region that do want to focus on your events, rather than traveling to the biggest paying one out of state, so.
I probably didn't say that right, we do have officials pushing us to make that much higher than
Yes.
what it is. But a lot of those officials are junior national, experienced regional officials that aren't probably gonna ref most of our single day events anyway. Most of our single day events have been housed by younger officials or local officials that wanna stay closer. And Sarah has a great group of those that wanna work those events. If we start seeing more this year that we can't, it's more and more difficult to get them to fill, or she's gotta start paying more people to travel to those events, then probably looking for that project opening in the future. But we decided we wanna keep it try to hold costs down for you guys that are running tournaments to try to keep it affordable, so keeping it the same for one more year.
I have a question for all of you. So should we raise that $1 or $2, that ref fee? When would you guys like to know, timeline wise, to be able to work it into your budgets? Like right now, obviously, it's too late. That's like our September board meeting is entirely too late. We wouldn't do that. And I've already said no for this year.
Can I supersede that?
Absolutely.
As tournament director, don't we have the right to pay them a little more money if we
Sure.
want?
Correct, yes, tournament directors, this is the baseline.
That's what I mean, so, along with that, I mean,
Let's do
if
What
you
is the baseline?
get refs and you really wanna reward them for being there, and you want them back, you can pay them a little more.
Would you guys agree that the
$20 stipend or whatever that may be?
May board
What
meeting would
is
be a
the
good
baseline?
time to raise referees, May? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's enough time.
Yeah, so the baseline fee, I don't know them off the top of my head, Sarah might, they're on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, the minimum amount of pay.
Okay.
That,
I was just
per,
curious.
yeah, per level.
So when you start, and you're an in-training official before you're patched in, and any patch, it doesn't matter, for the single day event once they're patched in, that goes up to 33 a match, of which I tell you, when I send you your list of refs, either what their certification is or what pay level there is. So if it's Sarah Boyd, she is, this is her email, phone number, and she's 33. So now that's, like I said, a baseline. There are some tournament directors who choose to pay their refs more, or what we asked, and we asked last year, which was well received, is if you feed them, if you give them snacks and cold water bottles, if you give them a ref room to put their stuff and have peace and quiet with some snacks on the table, you will get more officials. They, especially, like I said, again, we are so lucky to have a dedicated group. I don't know if you guys saw the all-star picture, from the line judges in the light blue shirts. The majority of them are certified officials. And they chose to line judge at our event in Madison, because we are just very lucky to have dedicated refs in our region. So if you were to say, to me, hey Sarah, I'm gonna be giving this, and this, or you can add it to your notes in AES if you want to, I can then use that and even more refs will come. And I'm not saying better, we have a great group of refs regardless, but they love those little things. Or if you have t-shirts, they love apparel. If you have pens, pencils, clips, whatever, something for them to remember your event, they love that, so.
And so pay does go by rating, not by age. There was a question about, is a 16-year-old paid as the same as an adult? And yes, we have some officials who are 17 and 18. They're fantastic. And I was like, wait, how old are they? Oh yeah, they're in high school. I'm like, oh goodness. And so yes, so the pay is done by rating. But then our question was, and again, we were getting pressured by some of the officials to raise that. And so I've explained that doesn't affect our Badger Region events because we pay more to get the higher level officials. But that affects all of the tournament directors who run one days around the state, which then affects the opportunities and the parents and the costs and all of that. And so should we need to make that, would our May board meeting for Badger Region, does that give you enough time or does it need to be in February?
For your budgets.
For your budgets and planning? Is May okay?
Fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, and what's great is the one-day events you guys run, it's a blanket fee, it's either 27 or 33, right? And our Badger Region events, if they're provisional, they get this, if they're regional, they get this Jan, national, blah, blah, blah. But we have that ability at our events, and we also want you to know that, like, currently right now, I have no problem getting officials with what we're paying right now. However, landscapes are changing, third-party events are constantly going up in what they pay their refs. So if it does change, then we may have to visit it.
There's a third-party event in Wisconsin this year, $50 is what they're starting at.
$50. So, it's hard to compete with that.
No kidding.
It's on the rest of the weekend, like, we find officials, we're paying $50, so we don't wanna jump you guys up into that issue at all.
But then I will add too, if you guys, obviously, you're the boots on the ground for the event. So if you're talking to the officials and they say, it would be great if Badger Region did X, Y, Z, let us know. We have a lot of bandwidth. Our board is very open to providing resources and training and different things for officials. So if there's something that you see that we can improve to use, to improve the entire landscape, please let us know, because we 100% wanna do that to make the officials and then, help your events.
Alright, finishing up, payment should be timely, 2-week maximum, you really wanna make officials happy, hand them a check as they walk out the door, they love that. If you have that ability, if not, make sure you get it to them within 2 weeks. If you have coaches that are one, they should be paid. Back when I started in this business 20-some years ago, almost every tournament ran coaches officiate all of pool play, and then you just bring in certifieds for semifinals and finals. That landscape has gone away and passed by. There's still a few tournaments maybe that are still doing that. In most places, you should be getting certified officials to ref your matches. And if you have a referee that doesn't show up and you have to have a coach go ref, give them some money for refereeing, please. Or if you can't fill courts,
where refs would drive for 2, 3, 4 matches and bracket play, great. Officials won't accept assignments, majority of them, if they're not a full day. So unless they say, Sarah, I can work noon to 4, which is minimal. If they're working, they wanna work all day. So it's the landscape, but also obviously the landscape of assigning. Officials would rather go and work a tournament somewhere else for a full day than work only bracket play somewhere else.
Is there a guideline of what you pay coaches if they ref?
Right.
I would start with the $27, but.
I mean, I want, it's a given, but I don't, that's not written anywhere, right?
No,
It's not, it doesn't say you have to pay them, I just think you should.
Right.
It's not-
I think it's
But I
worth the
mean,
discussion,
something
right? Like it's worth the discussion, maybe something about their fees for entering the event, something like that. It's worth a discussion for those teams if, now that's an if. Now, I sometimes with some of the events, it took me till 2 days before to fill them. But we've gotten them filled, but it takes a lot of last minute availability. So I'm hoping we don't get to that point.
I mean,
If
things
there are-
happen too, where
If there are
coach,
same day call-ins or someone's sick often and has to get off the stand, then obviously you guys have to fit it.
We just paid 15 and no coaches complained,
Yeah,
cause we ran a couple terms in Crandon where
Yep.
there wasn't.
Oh,
any.
Crandon.
So-
Yeah.
and it's something that usually be happy, you know,
Yeah.
coaches are out to 8 o'clock matches, the refs late, and they're $20 bill, they're pretty happy, so.
they pay in cash, they don't.
One of the other things, just one more thing on officiating, and I don't know if anybody in here does it, but with our Badger region hosted events becoming larger and larger, we're trying to discourage people from running on those dates just because we can't guarantee the officials. And so our dates are out there already, we try to get them out at least 9 months in advance, if not a year. So just know that if you run something on the dates that we have events, especially the 55, 57, we're not doing 57 this year, Kelly. 55 courts in Milwaukee, just know that there's not a lot left, cause we have to have how many officials?
Normally when we have like 50, let's say we have 55 court tournament, normally that takes around 85 officials, with staggering and adding some R2s if we need them for championships. So there's 85 to 90 with the allowance of sick calls. So there's always that math in my head. So that takes up probably 70% of our ref pool currently, 60% maybe, on those weekends.
And you still have the rule about if.
Same age
if
groups,
offered
Same age
14
groups, correct.
What's
Yeah,
that?
You can't run the same age group, so if
Right.
we're running 14s, we're not gonna sanction any 14s teams.
Sure.
Yeah, or 14s.
I did put out to you guys already that the first weekend of champs this year, we're running 14 open and club, 16 open and club. We are gonna let you guys run your events for those two because the open and club teams are not gonna be drawing against most of your single day events on those things. But then when we run the other weekend of 14s and 16s 2 weeks later, you cannot run anything those 14s, 16s. Cause it won't make much difference, but small event or whatever.
Kelly feels me staring at him right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
I know teams that are 14 open and club divisions and they're not playing games single day events.
Tell me that, where they have, where they.
Last slide that I think I put in here, single day event density. This past season, for the first time since I've been here, is we're starting to see more events that didn't fill up. It's always been 1 or 2 here or there, certain parts of the state. But this past season, I saw a lot more events that were partially full or not full, or whatever the case might be. In the past, and up until this point, we as a region have not done anything to govern this. We've just let, business practices and how long run tournaments kind of decide who's gonna go and what. We may have to change it in the future. We're not doing anything this year, but we're gonna start the discussion. There's some good things. Competition breeds higher quality events. So if you wanna fill your event, you have to figure out a way to make teams wanna come to your event over somebody else. And that's gonna make that event a little better. You can't run it with $250 single day entry fees and charging $12 for spectators and offering crappy concessions and having a poor facility and lots of different things that aren't good events. So it makes us, when I say us as tournament directors, run higher quality events. If we want people to be there, we have to figure out yourself first and say, how can I run my tournament a little better to get more teams that wanna come? And then if it's still an issue, if even our best tournaments, the ones that are really running stuff really well are having issues, you know, then something maybe the region's gotta step in and start looking at how we can make that work to try to run a little bit better. But, the good news is our sport is still growing like crazy. And also the good news, we have facilities that are starting to open up more and more. So when we get more and more open facilities, that's great for the kids, it's great for the sport, but it makes tournaments a little bit more competitive to host and fulfill. Any comments on that or questions on that? Sure.
Kelly, is there a policy that tournament directors have to follow when it comes to merging divisions, announcing that they're merging, giving heads up about merging? It sounds like this group, or club directors probably have some issue with it. Probably this group needs to be aware of that, the club directors are upset about it.
Yeah, it's in our tournament handbook that the tournament, as they decide to do that, need to notify all the teams when they decide to do that and offer full refunds for teams that don't wanna merge in those situations. It's not something we encourage things to do, but as you guys know, if you run an event in April and there's, you know, you try to run a single day event, you may have to merge in 13s and 14s and try to keep divisions. It happens. There's no way we can say you can't do it, but try to communicate, keep things out there as transparent as you can to those clubs, so that they're not mad that their 13s got stuck in the 14s division. On the boys' side, it happens a lot, 15s and 16s run together. Try to communicate, make sure it's out there up front, that this is gonna happen, this is what we're deciding to do with these divisions. You communicate, people usually are pretty understanding. If they show up they get their schedule on Thursday, 2 days before the event, that's the first time they see that their kids are playing up our division, they're not gonna be very happy with it. Anything else?
Just a sidebar, just for you guys' knowledge, in some regions, and this shocked me when I learned it 1 or 2 years ago. The regions run every single tournament, and they say 14s are gonna run this weekend at this site, and 16s are this weekend at this site. I looked at these people at our national meetings that Jen and I go to, and we said, you govern all of that, and it's fascinating. So, I think we do it really, really well here in Badger Region, and I don't wanna ever have to go into what Kelly's saying, we need to govern 14s can play this weekend at this event, and 15s here and 16s there, because that's a full-time job for somebody entirely, so. And there is a woman in Texas who does that as her full-time job. Yeah, in North Texas, she's in.
No, we definitely support that. You guys all do a really good job at what you do, but we also don't want you guys to get in a situation where you just can't run tournaments, we want you to build on tournaments as well. So, if there's anything you have ideas of how we can help without overstepping our bounds, without overtaking stuff, without, showing favoritism towards things, we'd be glad to listen to any ideas. A lot of you out there are probably smarter than I am, just trying to figure out those landscapes. But what I can tell you guys is look at it here first, see what you can do to run your tournaments better, see what you can do to build those relationships with clubs that come to your tournaments. That's what's gonna make those events higher quality and keep them filling.
Kelly, last question that was submitted, comes maybe, it applies heavily to the club director side in an hour or so, but, some clubs who didn't do summer tryouts don't have money in their coffers and are unable to pay for events that open in October. What should they do, and what was the reasoning for moving the opening date to October rather than November?
Yeah, well, I'll start with that last part first. The reason for opening was came from you guys as tournament directors. You didn't think you were gonna be able to fill your events if you waited until November when everybody else was opening so much earlier. So you wanted to move it up, so we moved it up. Some wanted to move it up to September 1st, some wanted October 1st. We decided October 13th. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it seemed like it worked decently for most people. They could still get in a couple months or a month and a half earlier than normal, but they could get their fall tryouts kind of started as well. So it kind of was a happy medium. So that's why we did it. As far as paying, we said that if you communicate with clubs, you could be given until December 1st to pay. So as long as they have
bit farther, because we're a small club. We don't hate the summer trials, FYI, hate them. You said they were worried they weren't gonna get into tournaments if they didn't accept October, whatever. If nobody accepted until November like we used to,
If it's
I don't get
non-USA
it.
volleyball, we can put them as late as we want to. The non-USAV events open September first, October first, and they're worried about if we push it all the way back to November, the single day events would be filled with all the other tournaments that are running non-USAV, and then maybe some tournaments we would go to non-USAV because they wanna get their tournaments open before November.
so where are the non-USAV, where are most of those tournaments being held? You would know the region, are they south?
All over.
They're all
So the thing with the non-USAV events, the major difference is USAV teams who or USAV events who have to be USAV registered. For other events, you can be anything. So they just have event insurance. And so essentially in this conversation, we're competing and we're trying to find a happy medium in the volleyball marketplace landscape in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna pick on Lumpy because he's in my sight line. Lumpy can't open USA Volleyball Badger Region events until November. Lumpy is not going to, but he is going to open his events September first, and he's gonna fill his events and run them a third party, because then he knows as a tournament director, okay, my events are full, I don't have to worry about it. And so we're competing against the landscape and trying to find a happy medium of allowing USA Volleyball events to still register a little bit early, understanding that not everybody has run tryouts for especially the older age groups, until November. I mean, it's kind of a guessing game, right? But you can also say, okay, historically, if you don't run fall tryouts for the older age groups, historically, these are the events that we've gone to. You can obviously communicate with the tournament director, say, hey, I haven't formed these teams yet, I'd like to enter them. If and when the teams wanna come, I can either, come and drop it, or I can come to the event and pay later by December first. So it's all kind of a shell game of who's entering, who can run the event, who do I wanna fill these teams with. We wanna try to keep as many events as Badger Region USA Volleyball as possible, because we feel they're safe, they're run well, we like all you guys, things like that. And so we wanna try to afford as many opportunities to play USA Volleyball as we can, but then it's gotta be a balancing act because of the